artificial intelligence is, well, it's everywhere you look these days.
Absolutely.
From the apps on your phone to, how you get recommendations online, it's constantly reshaping our world. But what happens when it steps into the classroom? Specifically since, late 2022, there's been this really rapid integration of AI into higher education.
It's been incredibly fast.
So how do students really feel about it, deep down?
That's precisely what we're going to explore in this deep dive. Our core source here is a pretty comprehensive survey. It was done in January and February of 2025 by WGU Labs.
Ah, WGU Labs. That's the research arm of the big online university, right? Western Governors University.
Exactly. The largest not-for-profit online university in the U.S. And they surveyed a massive number of students, 4,634.
Wow, over 4,600 students. That gives us a really robust data set to draw insights from, I'd imagine.
Definitely.
So our mission for you today is to unpack what these students are actually saying about AI. Where they see its potential, what makes them maybe a bit cautious, and how these views, these perceptions might impact the future for all of us.
And, the initial findings, they suggest a really fascinating mix. There's high engagement with AI, quite a lot of optimism, actually.
Okay.
But also some pretty significant areas of concern that we're definitely going to dig into, things maybe you wouldn't expect.
Interesting. Okay, let's unpack something that you mentioned, concern, something that jumped out immediately from this data. It sounds like while AI awareness and usage are generally high,
Yes, they are.
there's a really notable disparity, particularly between genders.
That's right. One striking data point reveals a 12 percentage point gap in confidence. The survey found 74% of men felt confident using AI tools effectively,
74%.
compared to only 62% of women.
12 points. That's quite a gap.
It's a significant difference, yeah. And it sort of ripples across several different areas of using AI.
Can you maybe elaborate on what kinds of confidence or awareness we're talking about here? Because it probably goes deeper than just a general feeling, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's quite specific. So, for instance, men reported greater awareness of AI tools, knowing what's out there. That was 96% for men versus 89% for women.
Still high for both, but a gap nonetheless.
Exactly. And then understanding how AI tools actually work, that was 73% for men versus 60% for women.
Okay, that's a bigger difference.
It is. And then it gets into practical skills, like feeling confident, writing effective prompts those instructions you give the AI.
Right, getting good results.
Yeah, that was 64% for men versus just 50% for women.
Half of women feeling confident there.
And evaluating the AI's output,
Yeah.
Judging its quality or accuracy. 74% for men, 59% for women.
Wow.
Even just using AI to help us study your teens, 68% for men, 52% for women.
So it's really across the board, awareness, understanding, practical application, evaluation. It's not just one thing.
Precisely. It's a consistent pattern.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this suggests some pretty profound implications for the workforce, doesn't it? This isn't just about studying.
Indeed. These differences, they really highlight a critical equity gap. If we look broader, research has shown women are already more likely to be in jobs that are vulnerable to automation.
Right, I've seen those reports.
And in the AI field itself, the workforce is heavily male-dominated. I think one report found men hold about 71% of AI roles globally.
71%.
Yeah. And then you layer on the issue of bias potentially being baked into AI systems themselves. There was that piece highlighting how AI might give, less ambitious career advice based on perceived gender.
That's worrying, so it could actually reinforce existing inequalities.
Exactly. It really underscores this urgent need for expanded AI literacy,
Yeah.
Especially for women, to make sure they're not further marginalized as these tools become more embedded in work and life.
Okay, so we've just dug into some pretty significant equity concerns there, particularly with that gender gap. It's definitely something to think about. But surprisingly, maybe, given that caution, the overall feeling from students towards AI in education, it actually swings quite optimistic. Was that counterintuitive for you too?
It was, yeah, to an extent.
Yeah.
Because you hear the concerns, but the numbers show 59% of students reported positive attitudes towards AI in education overall.
59%, so a clear majority.
Right. and only 17% expressed negative views. A similar pattern held for AI use at their specific university, too. So there's this general openness that might surprise some people.
And it seems like they were especially open to AI systems using their personal data to make learning better. That's an area that usually triggers privacy alarms.
It is, and that's what's fascinating here. It sort of flips the script on typical privacy concerns.
How so?
Well, we often hear apprehension about data sharing, right? But here, students seem to see a clear value exchange. They're basically saying, look, if you use my data, my grades, my goal to make my learning genuinely better, faster, more relevant,
Then I'm okay with it.
then yeah, I'm in, essentially. And the numbers back it up. Over 60% are comfortable with AI analyzing their academic performance data, career goals, things like that, to offer tailored learning materials and guidance.
60%. That really is significant, especially given all the public talk about data privacy. What specific benefits were they actually looking for from this personalization?
They want practical help, really concrete stuff. Like 67% thought AI tools that help them find and access resources would be beneficial, cutting through the noise.
Okay, makes sense.
And 59% saw benefits in AI tools creating personalized learning assessments, maybe practice quizzes tailored to their weak spots.
Right, adaptive learning.
Exactly. And 52% saw benefits in AI actually developing personalized instruction for them.
So it really speaks to this generation's priorities, maybe. Utility, efficiency. If the benefit is clear and immediate, the abstract privacy concerns might take a back seat.
I think that's a big part of it. They live in a personalized digital world, streaming, social media. They expect things to adapt to them. And they want AI in education to do the same, provided it demonstrably helps them.
Okay, so we've established this incredible openness to personalization, this desire for AI to make learning more efficient, more tailored.
Yes.
But what happens when AI moves from being, say, a helpful assistant to being a judge, like grading their work?
Well, that's where students draw a very firm line. And it's a really fascinating insight into how they trust AI, or maybe where they don't trust it yet.
Tell me more.
So this raises that key question about how students perceive AI's role. On one hand, 58% are comfortable getting AI-generated feedback.
Yeah.
Suggestions on grammar, clarity, maybe structure on an assignment draft.
Okay, nearly 60%.
And 66% were open to getting real-time feedback during exams or assignments. So quite high acceptance for that supportive role.
Right, formative stuff.
Exactly. But then trust plummets when it comes to evaluative roles. Only 35% would trust AI to actually grade their work.
35%, that's a huge drop.
Huge. And only 36% believe AI-generated assessments could accurately reflect their skills. And maybe most tellingly, only 17% believed AI-generated feedback was less biased than human feedback.
Only 17%. So they still see human judgment, even with its flaws, as perhaps fairer or more nuanced.
It certainly seems that way.
Yeah.
They trust the human element more for those high-stakes judgments.
That distinction is so critical. It reminds me of using like Grammarly or a spell checker. It's a fantastic tool, helps you polish things.
Right.
But you wouldn't want it to be the sole judge of your entire essay's argument or creativity.
Exactly. You still want a person for that deeper understanding.
And what's even more curious, you mentioned this, is that 65% of students were comfortable with AI tools generating content for assessments like quizzes, assignments, study guides.
Yes. Isn't that interesting?
It's like they're okay with AI being the content creator for the test, but not the judge of their performance on the test.
That's precisely the core of it, I think. Students are clearly differentiating between AI as a supportive tool, a resource to help them learn and prepare, and AI as a high-stakes decision maker that assigns a final grade or judges their overall competence.
So for institutions to gain trust in those higher stakes uses, what's needed?
Transparency is key. They have to be upfront about how AI is used in grading, and crucially, they need to provide evidence that it's fair, that it's accurate.
Show the workings.
Exactly. Without that proof, that skepticism about AI as the ultimate evaluator, well, it's likely to stick around. It reflects a deep value placed on human judgment for those really critical academic evaluations.
Okay, so students are open to a lot of AI applications. They clearly appreciate personalization.
Yes.
But there's one area where they seem much less enthusiastic, and that's around social and emotional support. It seems the line is drawn when it comes to the human touch.
That's absolutely right. The number has dropped significantly there. Only about a third of students, 32% specifically, thought AI would be beneficial for emotional support or mental health guidance.
Just a third.
Yeah. And similarly, only 35% saw value in AI tutors or coaches in that sort of developmental sense, and only 40% were comfortable with AI suggesting mental health strategies.
So they clearly prefer a human connection for those sensitive, personal areas.
Yeah.
AI feels too impersonal.
It seems so. And honestly, I can't say I'm surprised either. Well, I might trust an AI for a fact.
Yeah, like the capital of France.
Right. Asking you for advice after a really bad day just feels, well, a bit cold, doesn't it?
It does. Some things just seem to need that human empathy, that connection.
But here's an interesting twist in the data.
Oh.
When AI support was framed differently, specifically as chatbots for academic or career, helped student comfort levels rose quite a bit.
Chatbots, like for answering questions.
Exactly. Get this. 65% were comfortable with 247 academic support chatbots, and 59% were fine with chatbots answering specific academic or career questions.
That's a big jump. From the low 30s for emotional support to, around 60% for informational chatbots. Why the difference? It's still AI, isn't it?
It is, but you've hit on the key point. It really illustrates this important implication. Students aren't rejecting AI outright. They're responding to how the tools are framed and the type of interaction.
Ah, the framing.
Yeah. An AI tutor might imply replacing a human expert, which could raise concerns about empathy, understanding complex situations,
Right, the developmental aspect.
whereas a chatbot suggests a helpful, accessible service, something that augments human support, mainly for getting information quickly rather than replacing it.
So it's about managing expectations and defining the role clearly. AI for information, humans for deeper connection and support.
That seems to be the preference. Students value that human connection for the emotionally sensitive stuff, the complex developmental tasks. They seem to prefer AI supporting informational needs, not relational ones.
Okay, so after digging through all these insights, the optimism, the caution, the clear lines students are drawing, what's the one thing that seems to cut across almost everything? What's the foundational need here?
Yeah, there was one area with incredibly strong consensus across the entire survey, and that was transparency.
Transparency.
An overwhelming 92% of students said it was important to know when they were interacting with AI.
92%. That's almost unanimous.
It really highlights a foundational need for trust as we bring these new technologies into education. They want to know what they're dealing with.
That's such a powerful statement. It really signals this fundamental need for clarity, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And it wasn't just about knowing when AI was present, was it? There were other aspects of transparency they valued.
That's right. They want control and context, too. For instance, 84% wanted the ability to opt out of AI-supported experiences.
The choice to not engage.
Exactly. And 83% emphasized the importance of having access to a human for support, even if AI is involved. That human backup is crucial.
Always having an escape hatch to a person.
Plus, 79% wanted to know when content was AI-generated. Not just the interaction, but the material itself.
Okay, labeling content.
And 73% thought having access to a clear terms of service agreement was important. They want to understand the rules of engagement.
So they want control, context, clarity, and a human fallback. It's quite a comprehensive demand for transparency.
It really is. But it raises an important question for institutions. If students want this level of transparency, are they actually getting it?
Good question. What did the survey find?
Well, the survey found that nearly half of students, 45% to be precise, reported being unaware when AI was actually being used in their own learning.
45% unaware. So there's a major disconnect there between what students want and what they perceive is happening.
A significant communication gap, definitely.
Yeah.
And it needs to be addressed.
And that's why this matters so much, right? Because transparency, it seems, is absolutely critical for building and maintaining student trust.
Couldn't agree more.
Without that clear, consistent, proactive communication from institutions, even the most potentially beneficial AI tools could end up eroding the very trust they need to actually work effectively. For you, the listener, how might knowing or not knowing about AI's presence in your learning or your work affect your trust in the system? It's a key question.
Definitely. So what this deep dive into student perceptions really shows us, I think, is a very nuanced picture. It's still evolving, of course.
Right.
Students are clearly enthusiastic about AI's potential. You see it in the optimism around personalization, access to resources. But they're also quite cautious about its limitations, particularly around trust, fairness, bias, and that irreplaceable need for human connection in certain areas.
So boiling it all down, that brings us to maybe 5 key takeaways from this really extensive survey.
I think that's a good way to summarize it.
Okay, first, it seems pretty clear we need to actively work on closing those gender confidence gaps in AI literacy and usage. That equity piece is huge.
Absolutely critical. Second, institutions should probably prioritize high-value personalization things that truly align with student goals, recognizing that students are willing to share data, but for clear, tangible benefits.
Right, the value exchange. Third,
Building student trust in AI for assessment is going to be crucial. Maybe starting with formative feedback, where the stakes are lower, rather than jumping straight to high-stakes grading, where the skepticism is high.
makes sense. Build trust incrementally. What's fourth?
Fourth, use AI to enhance human support, not replace it. Frame AI as a helpful tool like those chatbots for informational needs while preserving the human element for complex or sensitive support.
Augment, don't replace. Got it. And finally,
And finally, perhaps the most vital thread running through everything. Ensure clear, consistent, proactive transparency in all AI applications. Let students know what's happening, why, and give them options.
because without that transparency, trust just can't be built or sustained.
Exactly.
So as AI continues to reshape education and inevitably the workforce, here's a final thought for you to consider.
How might that gender gap, we've discussed the one in AI confidence and usage, how might that not just impact academic outcomes, but fundamentally shift future career opportunities and economic equity if it's left unaddressed?
And maybe think about what steps can you take in your own learning community or your professional world to promote more equitable AI literacy and ensure thoughtful, transparent implementation of these powerful tools.